I'm so sorry I couldn't make it there today on this sad, sad time. Dear friends and family, we are here today to pay tribute to the memory of my father, Michael R. McAfee. He will be remembered for many things, but first and foremost, I think, was his kindness.
Jerry,
What?
Your dad's not dead.
Come again?
It's his birthday. It's his 80th birthday. He's fine.
80? 80? Come on, you're shitting me, right? Okay, you know what? Cut. Ixnay el Camero.
Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were.
Dear friends and family, we are here today to celebrate the 80th birthday of my dad, Mike McAfee. And right now, I want everybody to raise a glass in wishing him another 80 glorious, well, let's see. No, let's be realistic about this. 80, that's going to be 160. Let's say 25. 25 glory. Okay, it might be stretching it. 15? Tell you what, we'll split the difference. We'll go for another 20 glorious years. Here's to Dad. Now, let's look at Mike's life from the beginning. And when I say beginning, of course, I mean my beginning. I'm not gay, but Dad, back in the day, was a pretty good-looking dude. Take a look. Hubba. So you know that he must have really loved my mom. Not that, hey, by the way, I'm not an incestuous pervert, but she was a pretty good-looking gal herself. Huh? Check it out. No, but it wasn't her beauty that showed Dad's devotion to her. It was the fact that she came with this. These days, that's what we call baggage. But they did wed. And before long, something terrible happened. That's right. Take a look. Hey! I know. Avert your eyes. Now before we go on, let's get something straight. Let's get something out of the way. Let's address the hulking, walrus-mustachioed elephant in the room. Yes, Mark is Dad's biological son. And yes, Dad did give Mark more than he gave the rest of us. He gave him things like, well, the male pattern baldness gene, an abnormal size, and a lurching gait. If Mark were out in the woods, he could easily be mistaken for a Bigfoot, except for, you know, the whole hair thing. But life moved on, and so did we. Laredo, Texas, Salt Lake City, Utah, San Francisco, and then across the bay into Tiburon, Larkspur, San Anselmo. Hey, things weren't always rosy. No. It was in San Anselmo that things went bad for Mom and Dad, and they separated. Now, Bob and Larry, they were just old enough that they were able to stay on their own and live in Marin. Whereas me and Mark, well, we got lucky. Yeah, we were able to move to South Carolina in the summer into a trailer park. That's right. It was as bad as living in a van down by the river. I was a long-haired hippie freak from San Francisco. Boy, they loved me in the South. I remember one time being beaten up because I had lied about the fact that the high school I had come from actually had a swimming pool. As they pummeled me, I remember somebody even mentioning a cement pond. It was a hillbilly heaven, but we were in hell. But then Dad pulled through, and he managed to woo Mom back to Marin with the power of his love. And again, life moved on. I moved to Los Angeles and moved in with Bob and his first wife, Louise. She was the first official daughter-in-law. Enough said about her. Because after that, Bob upgraded and he married Terry. And from that wedding, we were lucky enough to have Dad's first grandchild, Jason. Now, Jason, I hear you're there today, and I just want to say I love you, man. But I got to tell you, if you start looking any more like Bob, I'm going to have to put you into rehab. Okay? So life moved on. It was chugging along pretty smoothly. But then the shit hit the fan. And Bob died. Now, I'm not going to dwell too much on that sad time. But I do want to talk about Dad. He was a rock. As we went through the pain and the suffering and dealt with all of the bullshit that had to be dealt with, Dad was the captain of the boat. So then, after days of dealing, we found ourselves in a car, just the immediate family. Mark, Larry, Mom, Dad, and myself, and a box of Bob's ashes. As we drove through Mill Valley on our way out to Mount Tamalpais, we passed a spot that I recognized that me and Bob had hitchhiked it a million times before to get up the hill or out to Muir Beach. I made the suggestion that maybe we could save ourselves some time and some gas money if we just left the box there with a big sign saying, "Going my way." It's a little creepy, I know. Maybe a little Twilight Zone. But we all laughed for the first time in all of those many days. And I remember thinking, probably for the first time in my life, that we were a family. We were the McAfee clan. And that Dad, like it or not, good or bad, he was my father. And that I, like it or not, good or bad, I was his son. So thanks, Bob. And once again, time marches on. Sorry if I'm going on a little long here, but remember, I'm trying to condense 56 out of 80 years into one little speech, so, bear with me. As the years passed, Mark married Drew. She was the next cool daughter-in-law. And then came Mike's second grandchild, Tyler. We love Tyler, right? I hope he's there today. If he drove himself, I'm wondering if he made it on time. Now, I'm not saying that Tyler drives slowly, but, well, just to update an old joke, if you Google cautious driver, it sends you to a link to Tyler's Facebook page, okay? So then, Mom and Dad are on their own. And all of a sudden, holy shit, Dad makes a killing in the stock market. Now, I don't know how much he made. I don't know if you cracked $1 million. But I do know that they moved into a mansion onto a golf course, that they traveled to Europe, they went to the Vatican. They even had a car shipped overseas from Germany. Nobody had the nerve to tell Dad that, hey, you know what? You can actually buy those here. But then the tech bubble burst. And Dad, like so many others, lost it all. Now that was a hard time for Mom and Dad. It was devastating. I felt so badly for them. I remember thinking, well, there goes any chance of an inheritance. But Dad bounced back. Yeah, that's right. The old man came back. He got a new career. He had a new hobby, but it was a money-making hobby. He started buying and selling flatware, or as you and I call it, forks and spoons. Who the fuck knew? So, before I wrap up, I do want to acknowledge that this has been a particularly tough year for the McAfee clan, especially for Larry and Beverly. Beverly, the final cool daughter-in-law, even though she's been a member of the family since I can't even remember when. Oh, and by the way, I tried to contribute to the daughter-in-law numbers, but actually tried twice. It didn't seem to pan out. Anyway, for those of you keeping score, the daughter-in-laws win. They were daughter-in-laws 7, sons 4. So I hope the 49ers can do as well. But I tell you, Bev is a tough lady. She has to be tough to put up with Larry, living at home full time. Larry has been a grumpy old man since his early 20s. Now don't get me wrong, he's a grumpy old man with a heart of gold. He's the kind of guy who will give you the shirt off of his back and then bitch about how cold it is. You know, some people have a stroke of genius. Larry, he just has a stroke. But I love him. Anyway, in closing, I just want to say, Dad, I love you. You raised me, you fed me, you put a roof over my head, and I think you love me too. And I know that somewhere up there, Mom is waiting for you. But I know Mom, and I know what she's thinking. She's thinking, that's all right, honey. You take your time. And so with that, I just want to say, you know what? Screw it. Here's to 80 more glorious years. Happy birthday, Dad.